Well, let's see. We left off talking about a little bit about his philosophy here. Yeah, as I mentioned, Camus was basically like a champion of the ordinary, which kind of juxtaposes his viewpoint from many other existentialist philosophers of his time. He really put a positive spin on it, which I like a lot. Um, Camus was a bit of a womanizer. He had a wife that he married pretty young, but that marriage did not last very long, and he consistently had numerous girlfriends throughout his life. He was a good-looking man after all, which is another trait that makes him different from other existentialist philosophers. Uh, just fun fact: he was actually asked to pose for the American Vogue magazine, which is I'm pointing the wrong way. There we go. Nope, nope. There we go. This picture on the left is his cover for American Vogue. But anyways, moving on. Camus was very politically active during his life. He wrote for numerous left-wing publications. We're not going to get into his politics very much. I don't think it's super relevant for understanding this novel, but just know that he was relatively left-leaning and most importantly, opposed colonialism. Remember that, he lived in French Algeria. It had been occupied. That's a country in Africa, that had been occupied by the French for many years. Um, he died very, very young, 46 years old. After being involved in a car crash while driving with his friend. And a twist of irony, he had planned on returning to his family after some New Year's events that he was attending, but at the last minute he decided not to return to them. When his body was recovered from the car wreck, they actually found a train ticket in his pocket that he had decided not to use that day. What a shame. Um, Camus wrote a ton of different works, but he's primarily famous for 3 novels and 2 philosophical essays. His famous novels consist of The Stranger, The Plague, and The Fall, and his famous essays are the myth of Sisyphus and The Rebel. And he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1957, much to his surprise. Now, I'm not going to give you too much information on the background of this story, but just know that his novel deals with themes of irrationality, meaninglessness, absurdism, and a little bit of colonialism as well. So I'm sure that you can already see how this is an existentialist text. Our main character is a guy named Meursault. Meursault. My French pronunciation is pretty trash, but do your best in your head while you're reading this to pronounce that correctly. Meursault. Though Camus was an existentialist, his outlook was surprisingly positive, as you might have already kind of gleaned. I think I've selected some quotes and a poem for you here to kind of illustrate that, to capture that positive spin on existentialism. The first couple are, life is the sum of all your choices. So what are you doing today? Freedom is nothing but a chance to be better. Remember how existentialism emphasizes that overwhelming freedom that human beings have, due to the claim that there's no innate meaning to the world, and that human beings have to make their own. Right, that's one of the tenets of existentialism that we discussed while we were reading Kafka's Metamorphosis. These quotes don't exactly offer any relief to that overwhelming, aspect of complete freedom, but they do emphasize some personal accountability here, and in my opinion, some positivity. This poem is called an Invincible Summer. And it reads, "My dear, in the midst of strife, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found